We are back. Long time no see, people. I am John Devine. This is Anthony Chang for another episode of the Heat Check podcast. Thank you for coming back with us. It's been a little bit. Welcome back, Anthony.
Yes. Thank you. It's been a while since we did a show together.
Yes, I know you've had some guests in there, and we'll keep bringing guests in.
Yeah.
Actually, we have another one lined up pretty soon, but I will fill in. I'm your guest host without the most, whatever corny stuff they do. But as corny as that is, we realize that the Heat has been a very interesting and very exciting team, probably exceeding all expectations. But on top of that, they're probably one of the most fun teams to watch if you're just watching basketball. So despite that, this is being filmed on Thursday. It's coming off the heels of the Mavericks loss, unfortunately. And with all that optimism, I'm going to ask you right off the bat, do you see any concerns after 14-8 now?
14-8, yes.
Do you see any concerns after this 1-2 stretch, or is it just part of being on the road? Are they adjusting to the new offense? What do you see?
Yeah, I think some of it is just sometimes you're going to make shots, sometimes you're going to miss shots, right? I mean, that was a classic example in Dallas where the Heat shot, 39.6% from the field, and the Mavericks shot 50%. So you're not going to win many games when that happens, right? It's kind of a make or miss league to, I know it's cliche, but it's kind of true sometimes. And that's kind of what it was in Dallas. Then the loss in Detroit's just really good, better than the Heat right now. They've been the best team in the East so far this season. So it's not too concerning. I guess the one concerning thing I would point out, and I think we've pointed this out even in the good times, before this 1-2 stretch, they had the best opponent 3-point field goal percentage. So the lowest. So teams that were shooting the worst on 3-pointers against the Heat. That's usually not seen as a sustainable stat, because some of it's just teams missing threes. There's only so much you can control with that, right? Over a large sample. So the thought was, is that luck? Is that going to come back to the mean where teams now start making threes, right? And that's kind of what has happened during this 1-2 stretch. Detroit shot the three ball really well. The Mavericks shot over 50% on threes. So that's something to watch of if teams start shooting even just league average on threes. What does that mean for the Heat? What does that mean for their defense? Their defense kind of slipped recently because of this kind of 3-point progression to the mean. So if I have to point out one thing, I would say it's that of, is that going to come back up a little bit, and how does that affect things? But for the most part, I think this stretch it just happens in a long season.
Well, it's funny you should say that. It is a long season. Players go in and out. People get healthy. People get injured. But it's also trying to integrate these people in and out. Tyler Herro, since we spoke last, Tyler Herro is back. Bam Adebayo was out for a while. He's back. But it's a matter of integrating those old players in with a new style and then getting them reacclimated. I want to know, how do you think Tyler Herro's fitting in? I know he and Bam were very heavy on pick and rolls. Now they do pick and rolls less than any other team in the NBA. What's the adjustment for them? Because you still have skill sets that you're trying to fit in, all the while trying to adjust to this new style of play.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's hard to complain with the new offense, right? When you're second in the league in scoring, first in pace, you're putting up 140 points once every 4 or 5 games so far this season. It's working, but I do think individually, I'm sure some guys would like to see more pick and rolls, right? Specifically, you point out Tyler Herro used the most pick and rolls in the Heat last season, kind of a pick and roll player. They're not using pick and rolls with him since he came back. Norman Powell, right, who has been great for this offense. He's kind of fitting like a glove. I'm sure he would like some more pick and rolls with Bam to create some advantages. But they're just not using it, and that's, again, it's for better or worse, right? Where it's working, but individually during these stretches where maybe shots aren't going in and these one-on-one attacks aren't working against a good defense like Dallas, maybe you do integrate more pick and rolls. And I think the Heat will as season goes on. But yeah, that is something that's going to be worth monitoring. See if the pick and rolls numbers go up as the season goes on and they kind of ramp up this offense and tailor it to certain guys, especially now with Tyler back. But with Tyler back, up till yesterday, they've actually run fewer pick and rolls than when he was out. So kind of opposite of what you would think. People thought, with Tyler back, they're going to start running more pick and rolls. It's been fewer pick and rolls since Herro returned. So very interesting. It's kind of an offense that, yes, teams have tried this before, like Memphis last season. I know it's well documented. But even they ran like probably double the amount of pick and rolls the Heat are running right now. The Heat are running like the fewest pick and rolls in NBA history if this continues. They run barely any. So very, very interesting part of their offense. Very, very interesting thing to monitor and see if it changes. But as of now, they've kind of been consistent on we're not running many pick and rolls and we're going to go this way and run the offense like this. And it's been working so far. But again, I think games like in Dallas, you question, should they have one more pick and rolls on the stretch just to get guys in rhythm? You know, the ball wasn't going in the basket. Tyler went scoreless in the second half. What a pick and roll here and there have helped them. Those are questions I think, people are going to start asking, in games like that.
I did read somewhere, I forget where, but of all people, old friend LeBron James waited.
I wrote that story.
Well, then that's where I read it. But for those who haven't read it, and cheap plug here, go to MiamiHerald.com and you can read it. But he was talking about the fact that teams aren't totally prepared for it. So sometimes it's almost like the equivalent of back in, I guess, 2008 with the Dolphins of the Wildcat, when no one else runs it and you have to kind of prepare for it once in a blue moon. It takes a while to adjust to it. Now, if you're going to a playoff series and it's like 7-game series, I'm sure you take great pains to really work on it. But do you think some of it's a byproduct because, hey, frankly, we never see this, and by the time we get used to it, you're out the door?
Yeah, I do think it's probably tailored to regular season success. We'll see if it can translate to the playoffs, right? That's the big question. When the game slows down, can they run this offense? When teams have a chance to really game plan in a long series, will teams be able to lock in and kind of find something that works against this offensive system? In the regular season, it's hard to prepare for because they're so different than every other team in a pick and roll heavy league, right? Then you face the Heat. You have a shoot around to prepare for them, and that's pretty much it. And you're going against an offense that's totally different from any other one you faced all season. So it does help in the regular season in these like one-game scenarios. And I think that's part of the reason why the Heat probably switched to it, right? First, the offense has been bad the last few years, so they're trying to find something, right, that works. But also, they've been the play-in the last 3 years. They haven't been a good regular season team. They've been struggling in the regular season. So, hey, we don't know if it's going to translate to the playoff success, but let's get out of the play-in. Let's win as many regular season games as we can. Let's get to the 5 seed, let's get to the 4 seed, maybe the 3 seed, and see what happens. Let's put ourselves in a better position in the postseason where we don't have to win 2 play-in games and then face the best team in the East in the first round, right? So I think that was part of it where they probably know, this probably is more built for the regular season, but we're okay with that because we haven't been good in the regular season, and that has hurt us in the playoffs the last few years.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. Let's talk personnel a little bit. With Jimmy, obviously, they played a different style of play tailored to his strong points. I understand that Tyler Herro and Bam played more pick and rolls than anyone else. But if you're looking, especially with everyone relatively healthy right now, we think about it. What do we say? 14-8. So we're 22 games in. We're like 1/4 of the season through. And Spo is still having to play mix and match and figure out what his team is. Mm-hmm. If you're taking a look at this rotation, and I know Spo changes it, how do you see this rotation shaking out right now? If you play Spo for a day, what's your rotation look like?
Yeah, I think fans, you look at X and all podcasts and different post-game chats and Reddit boards and all that. They want Khalil Ware to start instead of Davion, right? Because, I don't think Wiggins is going to the bench. Norm and Tyler aren't going to the bench. Obviously, Bam's are going to the bench. I think they want Khalil Ware to start, play bigger. Right now, the Heat are starting Davion, Tyler, Norm, Wiggins, and Bam for kind of an undersized lineup. I would say I think it's possible this will eventually turn to that. Obviously, you want to maximize Khalil's minutes. He's playing well, right? And by starting him, you maximize his minutes as opposed to him playing off the bench. But at the same time, the Bam and Khalil minutes historically and even this season have not been good. For as good as Bam and Khalil have been individually, they have not had a positive plus-minus on the court together. So I think that's part of why you haven't seen that yet. So I think that he's stick with this starting lineup for now. Davion's obviously playing really well as well in that starting group as a facilitator, one of the best assisted turnover ratios in the league, one of the best on-ball defenders in the league. Like he's been really, really good for the Heat. So I think he continues in that starting lineup. So I think off the bench, you obviously have Jaime Jaquez, who's one of the best 6 men in the league. You obviously have Khalil Ware as a backup center. And as of now, Pelle Larsson has kind of been that consistent fixture too, and Drew Smith as those are like the first 9. And then if you need a 10th guy, it's Nikola Jovic, who's really been going through it and struggling this season, or Simone Fontecchio, right? So I think that's the way it looks right now. Could it change? Could Nikola Jovic all of a sudden become a fixture in the bench rotation again? Sure. I mean, they just invested an extension in him. That they need him to come online and play better than he has so far this year. This team is better when he's consistent and is a big part of what they're doing. I think that's kind of been one of the few so far in a really good start to the season. It's been kind of one of the few disappointments Nico's play where I think there were big expectations for him to be kind of what Jaime's doing right now, kind of in that 6-man role, playing really well. And he just hasn't done that yet this year.
And I think that's what's kind of taken the heat off him for right now, is the fact that Jaime just has lost his mind so far this season.
Yeah.
Well, or you could say, look, his first year he had a very strong year. Last year was a disaster for him. So is this really a continuation of the first year that he finally did to the third year? Maybe last year was a blip. But for all that Jaime Jaquez does, and I think, reading you, of course, all over the place and between you and Barry, welcome back, Barry, after being locked into X/Twitter hell for about a week. Welcome back. But I think it said something about Jaime Jaquez having like more drives to the basket than just about anybody, or at least he's in top 10. He's going downhill the whole time.
He's last I checked, he's struggled the last few games after coming back from the groin injury, but I think he was like 5th or 6th in paint points in the league, and like everyone ahead of him was like Nikola Jokic, Giannis, like just obviously centers, big men that they deliver on the basket. Right. Jaime's in that group, which is really impressive.
But what makes the Heat interesting, and part of I think the reason that Spo probably switched over to this is they have so many different parts with so many different skill sets. And Jovic gives them something that they don't necessarily have. He's not Jokic by any stretch, but if you have a big guy who can see the court and help space things around. Now, Kel'el Ware can space it around because he can actually shoot threes a little bit. But I'm talking about the ability to see the floor and to pass in and out of it and pass to the open man as a big man. And even Bam will pass. Don't get me wrong, but it's a different kind of offense when everybody's on top of their game. So as much as we would probably say, put Jovic at the end of the bench. One, like you said, 4 years, $62 million. You can't dump that.
You can't give up basketball. On him now. No.
You can't cut for a salary cap reasons like you would Chris Paul would notwithstanding. You can't just cut guys like that. But also, he's going to give you something that you could use at some point. And we've seen with Spo traditionally, throughout the course of the year, certain players, their playing time and their performance rise and fall. And I expect Jovic to find a spot where he's on a high again. I think he had a game like the first couple weeks of the season. He had like 29 points. Yeah. He was near a triple-double, and it was amazing to see. Love to see that for the good of that team. Just like Davion Mitchell, Drew Smith gives some of the same stuff, but you've got guys who their defense on the ball is top tier. What's Davion's nickname? Off night, I think.
Off night.
Yeah. That's something that you take him out, you don't get that. You put Kel'el Ware, that's fine, but I'm going to trust the fact that you have coaches who look at these numbers far more than everybody else who's listening to this does. Sorry, guys, but this is their job. This is what they do all the time. So let's see how this shakes out. You can't. If you told me we were going to be 14-8, 22 games into the season,
I would have said you're crazy with that schedule and with the injuries they've endured. Yeah,
injuries and a top 2 scoring offense after coming off years where they're near the bottom in pace and the bottom in scoring. Yeah, we would have told you guys are nuts. Yeah. So all that. So this is really quibbling because this is found money. Tyler Herro, he's back in there. How do you maximize Tyler Herro? I know there's some squabbling that maybe he's not getting the ball enough. How do you fit all that in? Because he just came off his best offensive season. How do you fit that in with this new offense? I know we talked a little about pick and roll, but what else can be done to unlock Tyler even more?
Yeah, I think he was just frustrated last night in Dallas because obviously Norm was out with the ankle injury. So the thought was Tyler would carry a heavier load. And he had 20 points in the first half. And then all of a sudden in the second half, he had 5 shots and trying to find it here, but his usage rate went down to like his usage rate in the first half was the highest in the team at 27.7%, right? Which basically players used on the percentage of plays they're used on when they're on the court. His second half usage rate was fifth highest in the team at 14.3%. So he's right. I mean, he's kind of right. Why it happened, I don't know. But he's kind of right where first half he was getting the ball a lot. He was in the middle of everything they're doing offensively. Second half, he took 5 shots and had the same usage rate as Simone Fontecchio. That just can't happen on a night when Norman Powell isn't playing. And even most nights when Norman Powell is playing, you need Tyler to be a big part of your offense. So that was a big part of why that game got away from them in the second half, and they weren't able to really complete the comeback. But yeah, this is an offense that he's going to have to adjust to, and the Heat are going to have to adjust to him, whether it's running more pick and rolls for him. But he's also going to have to adjust as well in the sense of this is kind of a emotion-based ball movement offense, right? Where other years he had it going in the first half. They would give him the ball up top, run pick and roll every possession, and see what comes out of it, whether it's him taking a shot or him finding somebody else. That's not how this offense goes. It's not an offense that you're just going to feed the ball to a guy and let him work. It's going to be kind of an equal opportunity offense. We see it, right? They have 6 guys averaging double digits. Every night there's like 7 or 8 guys scoring 10 or more points a game. It's just the way this offense works, and that's different than what the Heat has done the last few years, and it's different than what Tyler's used to. So it's something he's going to have to adjust to. But again, I do think the Heat have to kind of throw him a bone as well of like, okay, we'll run 5 more pick and rolls a game for you just to get you in a rhythm, to get you in your comfort zones a little bit more. We might not do 20 pick and rolls like we did last year, but we'll do something. So I think it's going to have to be both meeting in the middle to make it work. But this is kind of expected. Again, I know Tyler tried to downplay it on his return. He's like, I could fit in. I could fit into any offense. This is different than what he's used to. And I think he's realizing that now, 5 games into his return.
I don't think he lacks the skills to play this new offense at all.
He doesn't. He definitely could do it. He has the
Right.
He's good on the catch and go. He's a good 3-point shooter. It's just getting his shots differently than he's used to, right? And look, to your point, he's averaging 24 points a game on like better than 50% shooting from the field. It's not like he's playing poorly.
Right.
So he's producing. It's different. It's different.
It's different. He also has some, depending on who's on the court with him, he also has some ball handling and distribution. He has some things that he has to do, and he has other responsibilities on top of that. We always look at it as a go-to scorer, but when you have equal opportunity offense like that, and now you have a proven scorer, perimeter scorer in Norman Powell on top of it, I'm sure it's just a matter of, when do I get mine? Powell wasn't there yesterday, but when do we get Norm his? These are the spots he likes it. These are the spots I like it. Let's also make sure that Khalil Ware eats. Let's make sure that Bam eats. Let's make sure we understand that Jaquez is going to go downhill. Where does he like to take off from and go downhill? It's a lot. Sometimes having a lot of options, what they call it, paralysis by analysis. You're sitting on the floor, and what was instinctive for him or instinctual the last few years is now let me think about where everyone likes to do. And I'm sure it will work out. And like we said, he's averaging over 20 points. He's shooting over 50%. I think his first game back, he scored like 24 points. And they were all like floaters and dewdrops and, like this mid-range game. And last year was like, oh, look at his great 3-point shooting. I don't think there is anywhere on the court where he can't get a shot and where he can obviously have sweet spots. But there's no range, like 3-point range, mid-range, getting to the hole
he's
where
a
he
3-level
cannot
scorer.
score.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it will work its way out. The only thing that may do it, 2 things: injuries, and we'll go to the next part, which is trades. And if we're talking trades, there's one big name out there, even though he's out 2 or 3 weeks right now with an injury, and that's Giannis Antetokounmpo. 1, the chances of Giannis coming here, and 2, even if you could, what do you give up, and where does he fit in?
I think the Heat, if that became an option, right? And as of now, I know there's been rumblings and people saying Giannis is but it hasn't happened yet. We'll see if Milwaukee even want interchange trading him, right? Trades like that don't happen usually in the middle of a season. And he, with the chance to do in the offseason, he didn't really push for it. He stayed with Milwaukee. So we'll see. But if that does become an option, I think he would say you could have anybody except Bam, right? I know some people might say even include Bam. I mean, Giannis is Hall of Fame, top probably 15 player of all time, 2-time MVP, right? Like why include Bam as well? But I think, Giannis and Bam have the same agent. So I think that's a part of it. Bam's legacy is kind of tied to the Heat. Wouldn't be that great for Bam to be traded, right? He's more valuable in Miami than he is anywhere else. I think part of the allure of coming to Miami would be Giannis playing with Bam, right, and teaming up with him. So I think Bam would kind of this is not me definitively saying or reporting. I'm just saying I would think my logic would tell me Bam would be off the table for the Heat in this. But I think everybody else would be on the table, right? And right now the Heat have 2 first-round picks, which really doesn't sound like enough for Giannis when you have guys like
Mikal Bridges
and Rudy Gobert going for 5 first-round picks, right? They only have 2 first-round picks because of the Terry Rozier trade. Every other pick is kind of tied up because of that trade, unfortunately for them. We'll see if the NBA gives them a pick back. At this point, you can't really depend on that. It doesn't seem likely, but I guess that is a possibility. So, 2 first-round picks, and then, you could offer Kel'el Ware, who's one of the better young players in the league, obviously has a lot of upside. You can offer Jaime Jaquez. You can offer a Tyler Herro's contract, right? Andrew Wiggins' contract, which you would need for the salary matching purposes. You could offer Kasparis. You could offer Jovic. You can offer those 2 first-round picks. But I think they can put together an intriguing package. The problem is OKC has a ton of assets. San Antonio has a ton of assets that if, Giannis signs off on going to any of those teams, they can blow pretty much any other team's offer out of the water. So that's the problem. So we'll see how much Giannis has to say about this, and we'll also see where he wants to go. There's been a lot of talk about him wanting to go to New York. Does he try to push a trade to the Knicks if he asks for a trade? There's a lot still up in the air with the Giannis stuff.
San Antonio's assets should scare every other team in the league.
Oh, yeah.
Because they could give up Steven Castle, who's a reigning Rookie of the Year, and not miss a beat.
Vassell, too.
And the other thing is, and don't get mad at me, Bam lovers, putting Victor Wembanyama and Giannis together just because of their offensive games would just be even more of a nightmare, in my opinion, than putting Bam. Look, Bam has increased his range and everything. But let's be honest, when it comes to 3-point shooting, they're probably both on the lower end of that spectrum. So if you look at, you go, okay, maybe I can live with them shooting threes and jacking up threes. But with those 2 guys, Wembanyama can hit. And you're also not worried about clogging the lane that way. And everybody else who's driving to the lane and they're putting up any kind of layup and it comes off that rim, you are in real danger. It's just crazy. I also think if Kel'el Ware was a couple years further down, I think his offensive game may fit better with Giannis, but his consistency isn't there, clearly. Not yet. Yeah. Now, you can go out, you can go, oh, look, 2 years, you have a real thing. But Giannis is over 30, correct?
I think Giannis is 30.
Or he's around 30, yeah.
I think he's 30.
So you put those 2 together.
He's 30.
You have issues, yes.
He's turning 31 in 2 days, so, yeah.
And the one other thing, if the Heat's throwing together a package, and you mentioned the name, but it's also about a contract. It's whether you get the first-round pick back, but also Terry Rozier's contract. Would that be expiring this year?
It's expiring this year, but as of now, the Heat have not received an answer from the league if they could include that contract in a trade since there's so much uncertainty around him.
But if you get that answer, and you got, God forbid, you get Andrew Wiggins' contract, which ends this year too, right?
Yep. Well, he has a player option, so he could opt in, but it could be the end.
So that's what, $20 and $30 million there, and a couple. That's a lot of flexibility, and if you trade over there, that's probably a lot of and it's a lot of flexibility for their cash.
Sure.
So we don't want to rain on the parade of Heat fans.
It's not a bad package.
Assets,
right?
It's a better package than what they could give up last year when they were trying to get rid of Jimmy. So they have
and their assets and their assets are more valuable right now, right? Because a lot of guys are playing better than they were last season.
So even if you can't get Giannis, you do have assets. But let's be honest, this is the whale. This is the whale that Pat Riley's been talking about for years when he goes whale hunting.
Yeah, there's no doubt that he would be interested. I mean, I don't have to talk to anybody to know that. That's going to be obvious. It's just, does the Heat have enough? to get a deal like that done is the big question when there's other teams out there that have way more assets than Miami, right? Can Miami get creative and trade a player to get an extra first-round pick? Yeah, I guess. It's more difficult for Miami. The point is it's more difficult for Miami to put together a package that's even competitive with teams like San Antonio and Oklahoma City right now. So unless I think the best chance Miami has is if Giannis says, I want to go to two teams, New York and Miami.
Right.
And that's it. Then Miami has a real shot. Because if Milwaukee, I mean, we've seen it with Portland. Portland didn't actually listen to Dame, but if he does something like Dame and Milwaukee actually plays ball with Giannis and does what he wants because he is a franchise icon and is always going to be one of the greatest Bucks players ever, if not the greatest, then the Heat have a chance. But until that happens, it's hard to imagine the Heat putting together a good enough package to really compete with some other teams that probably would be in the Giannis sweepstakes.
Agreed. So where do we go from now on the schedule? I know that they're coming back for a home game here and there, but they have this month it's half road, half home game.
Yeah. They face Orlando 2 of the next 3 games in Orlando. So I'm actually going to Orlando today. They play Orlando tomorrow. Then they come back on a back-to-back and face. They play a home game against. God, I'm all over the place. I don't even know. This is a long season. They play Sacramento on Saturday. And then they go back to Orlando on Tuesday, and play an in-season tournament game, quarterfinals, with a chance for Vegas on the line. So that Tuesday game will have some stakes to it.
I'm going to ask a question. I know we're a couple years in. Do players really care about the in-season tournament and having a good showing there? Or are they just trying to win every game they can?
I think they care about the money. I think that they care about, right? Just talking to guys like us, joking with them a few nights ago when they made the quarterfinals, I think they clinched at least $50,000 because they made the quarterfinals each. I mean, for some guys, that's not a lot, like Bam. I mean, they make that more than that in a game. But for other guys like Kashad, for Kashad Johnson, who's making $2 million, like $50,000, that's something, right? And if they win the quarterfinals and it goes up to, I think, a little over $100,000. If they win it all, I think it's over $500,000. That's a lot of money to some of these guys. So I do think they care about the money. That's an incentive for sure.
That'll work for me. So let's talk about what's coming up. NBA Cup, we're always going to talk about that just to see if they're going out to Vegas. We will stay on top of the evolving offense. We will stay on top of Giannis's trade buzz. And we will, most importantly, we'll see how Tyler Herro continues to morph with this new offense and see how this team continues to defy expectations. We are here for it. We have Anthony's going to be having his finger on the pulse of the Heat. Barry Jackson's always around. Stay locked in here at the Miami Herald. We will take care of you. For Anthony Chang, I am John Devine. Until next time, we'll be looking out for you. And go Heat.